It is time to get started. So welcome everybody. It's great to see you. It's hard to believe that the third quarter is almost here, but it is. So today we're winding down to the end of September. I was actually in a meeting earlier this week where they were talking about the year being over, which really depressed me. I don't know about you, but we still have a whole other quarter to go. So we have a great agenda today. And we're so paperless that I'm not even sure what's on the agenda. So I'll give you kind of a general idea of what's on the agenda. So we're going to go over our goals with a quarter left to go. Christine is here to talk about our career day and how that went and some other things, just to encourage you to make sure that you followed up on all of that. Brian Hughes, our corporate risk officer, is going to be here. Chief Risk Officer is going to be here to talk about risk management as a competitive advantage. I'm sure most of you, I don't know, maybe not all of you, but when you see what's going on at Wells Fargo, it's kind of like watching a car crash in slow motion. It's frightening. And, I think all of you saw the note that David put out yesterday. Our culture is about serving our clients and our customers. It's a wake-up call to remember that we're all here to do the right thing. And in the spirit of risk, we have some AML training that needs to be done. And so I just want to put, Rob isn't here, I don't know, maybe Rob is here. But that training is a condition of just working here. And you just have to do it. And, as soon as it hits my inbox, I just do it right away, so I don't want to have that hanging over my head. Because it's serious stuff. And I would also say I don't think it's fair to have people chasing us down all the time, checking, we've got links, did they take it? Your managers start getting nervous, they get all these threatening notes. So just do your training when it hits your inbox. It's a personal plea for me, it's an important thing. I don't think there's a person working in this company that doesn't understand that we're all working to get our AML, BSA compliance up to a level that the regulators feel comfortable, so please do it. And there's another one on a Reg GG, it hits your box, just do it. It's much simpler than sending the rest of us into heart failure worrying about how we're going to keep you employed here if you miss the deadline, because I don't know how to do that. We've got some drive awards, our normal milestones, anniversaries, and I think what we've all been waiting for, Steve Trussell is back. And Steve is going to come in and entertain us with all that he's learned about facilities since he's taken on his new role. So definitely stay to the end to make sure that we get to talk to Steve. I might even bring him up here for Q&A after with me. We'll see. How about that? All right, so with that, and there's that agenda. Perfect. I didn't even need my phone. So let's just look at kind of where we are at the moment. So I would say I think we're in really great shape. If you look at what we said we would do at the beginning of the year, we said that we would achieve $171 billion in volume. And I think you remember, if we get a green, that means we're kind of significantly ahead on that goal. A check means we're kind of meeting the goal. Yellow, we still have some more work to do. And I think at this stage, if we get a red on a goal, it probably means that we don't have enough time in the year to make it up. But in the spirit of we can't make all of our goals, I think if you look at this, sort of across the entire set of goals, we should feel really good about achieving what we said we would achieve at the very, almost at this time again last year. So we're busy putting our plans together for 2017 at the moment, and I think this planning process that we did, getting ready for 16, put us in a place where we had some stretch goals, but we should feel really good about the things that we've done. But Pulse is way ahead on volume. Network partners, sort of meeting that volume. Our profit, we said we would generate $80 million. We're way ahead on both. So Pulse and partners doing really great there. Expenses is something I think that we've done an incredible job at. We're way ahead on expenses. I think that we've been very judicious with how we spend our money, and we're helping to make up for some shortfalls elsewhere in the company. So great job on expenses as well. Interchange of 179 basis points. You can see we have a check there. So all the things that we put in place with our retained merchants and staying on top of that, I think we feel really good about hitting that goal. And a nice check there and a pat on the back from the card issuing guys. And, you know, I think that we've kind of struggled a bit with this goal all year long. This is our move by Pulse to get into the signature debit business. You can see that the volume is not coming as quickly as we had hoped. It's a new product, a new venture. So this is, you know, not the end of the world. It's something that we're investing in for the future. So we're off on volume and we're off on revenue, but it's a place where we're going to redouble our efforts in 2017. On the good news side, with Pulse going into the just sort of general debit category, they are over-delivering on both volume and revenue. So while we're not quite there yet on Sig Debit, we are way ahead on our pinless Pulse Pay Express initiative. International partnerships, DCI, and our network partners category, you can see we've got a check on volume, we've got a green dot on profit. And so I think we like profit actually more than we like volume, but you know, normally you need volume to get profit, but I don't mind a check and a green. I think that's probably all fine right there. And then on the acceptance side, you can see that we're hitting our targets by increasing our outlets kind of around by 700,000 outlets. So all good there. Net-to-net partners, we've got a check. I'm staring at Mr. Hurley right here in the front row. He's got a quarter left to make that goal, but he says, check. And if you know Joe, he holds something in his back pocket to make sure that he gives me a Christmas surprise kind of at the end of the year. Elo is live in Brazil. Turkey is live. You know, DCI is having a really good year. So our franchises in India and China, we've stabilized some places. You know, it's still a lot of heavy lifting in that particular business, but we feel really good about where we are. The EU regulations are being rolled out. I don't think they're fully implemented, but we've got a nice handle on working with our partners in that region. So we feel, again, really good about where we're at in that space. So all good. Ariba Pay, a little light on volume and a little light on net revenue. Again, you know, if Joe were standing up here, and I can see Megan back there, she would say, boy, we're building a new network. You guys have aspirations for us to not have any time to, you know, create something from nothing, and maybe some of our aspirations at the beginning were a little bit too aggressive. But, you know, with reflection, I would say I would agree. So we're creating another network. So it's like recreating Discover Network all over again, but in the business-to-business space. So, you know, when you're starting a new venture, some of your early clients, you use those to kind of test out your theories and your strategies. So we're working with SAP and Ariba to get this off the ground. So I'm not concerned that our volume and our profit isn't there yet. I was in a meeting with Bill and Joe and Megan and AJ and Arvin yesterday. You know, we have a sort of strategic meeting with our partner clients next week, and we've got some really good work that we've done. And we need to take kind of a long view on this. So they've got their check on signing the 5 new buyers. Again, I'm looking for a very bright holiday season in that fourth quarter from Joe and his team to deliver on that. I think we've already signed the 2 buyers. And then we've ventured into Canada with this network. So not only are we going to serve SAP Ariba clients in the U.S., we're going to serve them in Canada as well. So lots of good things coming in the space. And again, it's a new venture for us. And I'm quite confident if we do the right thing, serve our partner, that the volume and the profits will come. So all good news there. You know, this is, you know, important stuff. So we still work on merchant stated acceptance. So Pete and his team are out there running campaigns. We're trying different blitzes in cities. We're trying to partner with Apple to see if, you know, repping them and our acceptance at the same time actually gives us any lift. But that MSA continues to stay steady and slightly growing, which is great. From an EMV and DPass perspective, This past week, we had all of the heads of our acquiring partners in for a meeting. And one of the things that we talked about was, if you look at the EMV rollout in the United States, by and large, the credit rollout has gone almost flawlessly. So that, if you think about the lift that we've done on a very, very complex infrastructure, the credit piece of EMV and DPass, and really for all of the networks, amazingly well done. Debit, way more complicated, lots more issues over there, but we should feel really good about the fact that we are rolling out EMV, and our clients, our customers, are still getting amazing service. I think by the end of the year, almost all of our Discover portfolio will have been reissued EMV cards. It won't affect more than probably 25–30% of spend. The merchants are a little slower to adopt, but we should feel really good about the way the ecosystem has delivered that new technology to a very, very complex environment. We've obviously implemented Apple Pay for debit. We've implemented Android Pay, and I think Samsung Pay is sort of in process, maybe agreement signed. So we've got all the pays going. We've got some merchants coming up with their own pays, so this is a category where we're going to have lots more work, but again, a nice check right there. And a lot of work going on with Elisa and Amy over 3DS. Again, you're going to see lots more focus on security and new ways for consumers to take stored credentials and use them in a variety of environments, but we're right up there with the rest of the industry getting these new technologies deployed. All right, DDX, again, you have to have tokens to be a player in the new world, and we've got lots of good stuff going on there. I think many of you have seen that PayPal announced a new agreement with Visa and MasterCard. They're pivoting their business model a little bit. I think it's going to be interesting to see. We still enjoy a great partnership with PayPal, but the volume that we expected from them actually creating and starting their own network, I'm not sure that strategy is something they're still committed to. So a little more work to be done with PayPal, but we've got some other initiatives up and running with them. We're going to rep Venmo at some acceptance locations for them, but we still are working hard with PayPal, and hopefully at some point we'll be able to show some real volume and profit with our relationship with them. And then, work kind of goes on with our common payments platform. This is an important initiative for our future. It's kind of over there. People are working on it. We haven't seen it fully impact our everyday lives yet, but we've got great hope for all of that. So that's, kind of where we are at with our goals. So I would say really pretty good. If we had green or a check on everything, David and Roger would call us sandbaggers, and we don't want that. So I feel like we set some pretty good goals. We make most of them. We exceeded some. So it feels, kind of like the right balance. So maybe just a couple other things. We had a great volunteer day. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be there. I was actually on vacation. But at Little City Children's Home and Aid on September 9th, we had over 1,000 hours of volunteer work, which is really amazing. So thank you for living the Discover values. I think that's really great. You painted a very large shed, landscaped walking paths, painted canvas murals, painted and built planter boxes, picnic tables, and more. So I know the community really appreciates that, giving back to the community by all of you, and so thank you for your hard work in that space. And I hope everybody had a good time, because it's all about taking a break and kind of remembering that there's a whole other world out there besides what we do at Discover. And on the personnel side, I think many of you know that Mike Kennedy, we sent out a note. I asked Mike to come over and help Amy and the SMR team out. There's a huge focus across the company about trying to find new ways to partner with merchants. And if you remember, Mike was in SMR. He's been working with our acquirers for the last, is Mike here? 5 years. I don't know, maybe Mike isn't here. Oh, that's right. So he's already stepped into his new role. So there's a big conference of the merchants out on the West Coast, and we That's what happens. You get a new job, boom, one day you're out on the West Coast talking to the merchants. But Mike is going to do a huge, heavy lift for us. We've got a number of programs geared up with the card side with a number of our top merchants. So I know having Mike over there is going to make all of our lives a lot easier. So thanks to Mike for doing that. So with that, I am now going to turn it over to Christine, who's going to talk about career development, which is very important. And I'll be back up. I have questions today. So very thoughtful questions, I might add. So I'll see you at the end of the program.
All right, I am happy to be back up here and touching base on the topic of career development and giving you an update. Just to kind of reground everybody, a reminder that we're focusing on career development as a result of feedback we received from all of you through last year's EOS. Since I mentioned EOS, quick shameless plug, EOS is going on right now. If you received the email on Monday and thought it was spam and sent it to spam, it's not. Let us know if you didn't receive it or you misunderstood that it was spam, and me or someone on my team can help you get that. But you have from now through October 14th to fill that out, so definitely keep the feedback coming so we can continue to pull together programs such as this. So, topic of career development. We introduced this topic back at the Payments Town Hall in June, and we've done a lot in a short period of time. So I want to do a quick recap of what all that work has been. So after we introduced it, we did share a career development toolkit, which included a template or a worksheet that you could use with your manager as you hold your career conversations, and also shared with you an IDP, which is an individual development plan to help you prepare for these career development conversations. Following that, we held a career development panel. If you got here early, you saw some pictures from that as we were kind of waiting for everything to start today, where you heard from a number of leaders on kind of what their career development journey was, and hopefully took a few things away for your career development discussions. Leading up to Career Development Week, we held manager lunch and learns around holding effective career conversations. We wanted you to have these conversations, but also feel good about the content and the value in the discussion as you went into them. So we did prepare managers to have those conversations. And then around late August, early September, we launched the first ever in Payments Career Development Week. During that week, we asked everybody to sit down and have a career conversation with their management. So you might be asking, okay, that's great, we did all this, kind of what now? And it's not going to be a flash in the pan activity. This is going to be something that we continue to ask you to focus on next year and hopefully the following year and the following year. So what should you be doing now? You should be focusing on creating or editing and executing on your individual development plan coming out of that career conversation. Whatever you and your manager agree to around your future development and what steps it's going to take for you to get to that next step in your career, that's what you should be focusing on right now, and that really should be led by the employee with feedback and support by the manager. And then around the year-end time frame, in addition to your performance review, we'll ask you to do a quick check-in on how things are going against that individual development plan and if anything has changed around career development. So coming out of Career Development Week, we asked everybody for their feedback, and we got really a majority of very strong feedback. We asked folks if they had the conversation, which was important and fundamental, and 95% of employees that responded said that they did have a career conversation. I'll direct you to the lower right corner. Something we felt even better about is 75% of employees felt the discussions were either high or solid quality. So on a scale of 1 to 5, 75% of folks said that it was about a 4 or a 5, the quality of their conversation. We also felt good about the participation level in the manager training. About 75% of people managers attended one of our info sessions. And then coming out of the career development plan, career development discussions, about 83% of employees said that they have some type of development plan in place. And then general feedback around some of the other activities and tools like the career panel and the career discussion worksheet were good. Let me tell you, for some of those who maybe they didn't like the worksheet as much or there were other things they wanted to cover, make sure that you know going into your next conversation that worksheet should be used as a guideline and something to give you structure to start the conversation. But if there are other things that you want to make sure you cover, that's definitely up to you and your manager. And please, make sure that you can feel comfortable going off the script if that is the most important to you as you talk about your career. So I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but what next? This is not going to be a one-and-done type of activity. So we've asked you to go back and update your development plans in MyHR. MyHR does have a spot where you can enter your development plans. We're going to continue to collect feedback through the employee opinion survey. So related to my shameless plug earlier, make sure you give us feedback in that survey. And we've also gotten a number of great suggestions coming out of the post-career development week survey that gave us a number of good ideas to focus on for next year. So next year we'll be focusing on additional tools and resources, and kind of next time I come up here, I will be giving you kind of the overlay of what we'll be focusing on next year as it relates to career development. But definitely plan to continue to have these conversations about once every 6 months. Those will be structured about once every 6 months, but you can feel free as an employee or a manager to initiate those more frequently. If you feel like something has changed in your career development plan, or you want to check in on some feedback or check in on your development plan, it doesn't mean that you need to be limited to the amount of times that we suggest that you have these career development discussions. So before I wrap up, I just want to thank everybody for their participation, for giving us their feedback and ideas. And if you have more feedback and ideas, please make sure you're reaching out to me or somebody on my team. We really welcome that. Again, this is all coming from EOS and feedback you'd given us that this would be a priority for you. So we want to make sure we are customizing it to the group. All right, I'll hand it over to Brian.
Thank you, Christine. Thanks, Diane, for inviting me to be here today. This is very exciting. It's part of be able to speak to all of you in the payments business. And I want to talk to you this morning about risk management. And so I've been in my role for maybe about 4 or 5 months. And the head of risk management, kind of thinking through what risk management means for Discover. And I want to maybe try to suggest a new way of thinking about risk management, or at least try to kind of get kind of reawaken or kind of frame it out. And then also want to talk about how you can help with risk management, because it is so important for us here at Discover. So with that, let me see. I'll find my way here. Clicker, everything else. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We'll talk about why it should be a source of competitive advantage, initial thoughts on what we need to do. I'll give you an update on AML-BSA, which is the most important initiative in the world. And then apologies to officers and directors. You've seen some of this content before, but I love it so much, I just keep showing it. The lastly is the mystery, Yoda, Warren Buffett, what we all have in common with the two of them. So if nothing else gets you to listen, maybe the answer to that question will. And so with that, to kind of set us off in the right direction, we'll watch a video. Cue the video. All right, here we go. All right. I'm showing my age here with this video, but oh, the audio too. If we don't get audio, I'm going to have to do my Yoda impression. Take it to him, I will. Yeah. You seek great Jedi Master. Yes. Oh, here we go. Okay.
We'll never get it out now.
So certain are you? Always with you what cannot be done. Do you nothing that I say?
Master, moving stones around is one thing. This is totally different.
No, no different. Only different in your mind. You must unlearn what you have learned.
All right, I'll give it a try.
No, try not. Do or do not. There is no try.
Very good. All right. So for me in my formative years as a teenager, very inspirational words. I thought I would bring them forward to all of you. So two kind of interesting things that I like about that clip. By the way, how many actually saw that movie in the theater? Yeah. Yeah, it gets fewer hands go up every time I ask the question. How many have actually seen it ever? How about that? All right, okay, a few more. If you haven't seen it, go home, watch it. It'll set you straight on life. But someday there's a book that's going to come out. It's everything I need to know in life I learned at Star Wars. But anyhow, the reason I like that quote is it's two themes to it that I wanted to talk about in my presentation. One is this idea of unlearn what you have learned, and then the second is this idea of kind of do or do not. There is no try, and so we'll hit both of those themes, and then we'll kind of wrap it all together as we go. So unlearning what you have learned actually starts with this guy. Most of what all of us have learned about risk is kind of memorialized by this man. This is a really smart guy, William Sharpe. He's a Nobel laureate in economics, and he came up with the asset pricing model, the capital asset pricing model, which is sort of a bedrock concept in finance. And basically what he said is he said, look, if you're going to get more return, if you're going to make more money, you got to take more risk. Right, and it kind of laid it out in the spirit of financial markets. But I think a lot of us, when we think about our business, we kind of think about risk and return going hand in hand, right? And so Sharpe, he pretty much proved it when it came to investing. He's like, hey, just put it all in an index fund. You can't figure it out. And I think it kind of though permeates our thinking when we think about our own risks. Well, if we want to do better, we got to take more risk. Come on, Brian, lighten up. Let's take more risk. There is another perspective on taking risk, and that comes from the guy who may not have a Nobel Prize, but he does have a buttload of money. This, of course, Warren Buffett. And Buffett said, I don't think so. What I'm going to do, I'm going to gain a better understanding of risk. I'm going to become its master, and then I'm going to make a ton of money out of it. And that's what he did. He found a low-risk way to play a high-risk game. And that's how he made all of his money. He rejected the wisdom of the Nobel laureate, blazed his own trail, a low-risk way to play a high-risk game. And if you think about it, actually, we do the same thing here at Discover. We do the same thing when it comes to credit risk, which is one of the risks that we have to manage. So here are a few of our own superstars on the credit risk team, Jim, Sarah, Leo, Mark, and Gaurav, just a subset of them. I could have put a lot of other pictures up here. We have mastery, or some mastery, in credit risk. Loaning money to prime revolvers is a risky business. They have fairly big balances. They tend to go bankrupt quickly in a recession. A lot of companies have lost their shirt lending to this group. We've done it successfully for 30 years, and we've developed a very good advantage in this. We use analytics, and we use our customer experience, and that gives us an advantage in credit risk. And we have used that advantage to make a good amount of money. Our ROA versus the industry ROA, we do very well with it, right? So this notion to Discover of finding a low-risk way to play a high-risk game is not a foreign concept to us. We've already mastered it when it comes to credit risk. And so what I think our opportunity is to now take that same approach, that same philosophy, and apply it to our other risks, right? So we've got credit risk. There are a number of other risks that we as an organization have to address. My organization takes the lead in it. We've got operational risk, right? That's the risk of things breaking, market liquidity, strategic risk, and then compliance and legal as well. And the two that I draw a red box around are operational risk, which is the risk of things breaking, and then, of course, compliance and legal risk, which is the risk of us not complying with all the rules and regulations, the ongoing onslaught of extra rules and regulations that we have to conform with. And so my proposal is that we kind of think about risk management as how can we find a low-risk way to play the high-risk game with particular emphasis on operational risk and compliance and legal risk. Why would we want to do that? Well, the benefits of doing that are very meaningful, right? In the last 4 years, we have spent $400 million, just our out-of-pocket expense, $400 million remediating the 2 consent orders we had, protection products and AML BSA. This is just the out-of-pocket expense, not to mention all the time and energy of our organization in remediating these consent orders and figuring it out. So just another show of hands. How many people in here, one way or another, have had to help remediate the AML BSA consent order by gathering information, doing a new procedure, and the like, right? It's a decent amount of time and a decent amount of hours. Thank you, Diane, for raising your hand. You're a willing and supportive participant of many of the activities, and we appreciate it. Thank you, everyone else, for raising your hand, too. That doesn't mention the countless hours, right? So the out-of-pocket expenses and then the operational risk, right? When things go broken, the amount of time it takes to fix them, right? If anything proves that an ounce of cure is worth a pound of prevention, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, yeah, okay. I rehearsed for this debate. Really, I did. Yeah. Yes. I can't get the hair going. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Anyone who's ever had to fix an operational incident, send money back to customers, go through the control process. Oh my God, what a pain! It'll teach you, that control is a lot better than having to fix something on the back end, right? So that is, I think, the benefits out there of doing this are meaningful. I think our challenge. The challenge with risk management, and this is from kind of being on the marketing side and now being on the risk side, is that really risk management is really quite immature, kind of like Trump sometimes. No, but it is. But risk management is kind of immature. How many people took a class on risk management in college or at graduate school? Yeah, a lot fewer than are now having to help with risk management. How many people took accounting? Yeah. Was it fun? No. How many people took a marketing class? Yeah. That was more fun, wasn't it? Yeah. The thing is, though, is that a lot of these other disciplines that we have to use to run our business have been around long enough to make their way into university, right? Accounting has been around for a long time. You know how to do accounting. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but it works, right? Marketing, you've got marketing frameworks. Risk frameworks are, at most, 5, maybe 10 years old, right? We're still inventing this stuff, right? So it's immature. A lot of times it kind of feels like an add-on to our regular process. Oh, it's summer. Our CSA season must be here. It's time for the risk and control self-assessment, right? It's not quite baked into what we consider business as usual. It doesn't feel familiar. And so that's, I think, one of our biggest challenges on risk management is it kind of feels like an add-on process a lot of times. In a lot of ways it is. It's sort of being concocted in many ways by the regulators and then kind of pushed into our business. And so the first thing we want to do is we say, well, we got to do what the regulators tell us. We haven't figured out a way to really bake it in to our business as usual process just yet. That's what we have to work on. As a result, what happens sometimes is, sitting in the first line, you got a ton of things to do. You might not rely so much on the formal risk management processes that you're being asked to do. You may decide, I'm a pretty good manager, and that's kind of one of the challenges we have at Discover here is actually we have a lot of very good managers. You do a very good job managing your business. So the formal risk management stuff comes along, you say, I got this, it's okay. And maybe then more junior members of the team, maybe they're the ones who can check the box for me on our CSA and things like that. I'm sure that other companies are tempted to do that. It doesn't happen so much here, but it could be a temptation for you, is just to kind of do it as a check-the-box exercise. And in some cases, I can't blame you, but it's not going to get us to competitive advantage, and it's not going to get us to those benefits that I showed on an earlier slide. So what I'd like to do with the risk team, and in particular with many or all of you, is sort of 3 things at a very high level. First, find a way to reduce the workload of the risk management activities. can simplify the activities, try to make them more part of business as usual. Maybe it's the vendor management process or automating KRI reporting. But let's make this stuff less burdensome. And then also find a way to enlarge and clarify the benefits of it. A lot of the things that we want to do in risk management should have broader benefit, like looking at processes to make them more efficient and trying to find new ways for controls. And then also continue to spend the time together engaging on these processes. So, at a very high level, I think that's the direction we want to take it. We're going to be looking for more engagement, and we're going to be looking for more feedback about how we're doing and about how well we can do all these things. So that's just sort of, kind of high-level vision for risk management. To talk, I've got maybe 2 or 3 slides here now on payment services and maybe the specific role that all of you can help with and play in controlling our risk. For starters, of course, the payment services risk profile, right, very different than the bank side, right? The bank deals with consumers, and so we've got UDEP and all that good stuff. Payment services, it's all about the partners. And when I think about the partners, I think about 3 big risks when it comes to our partners. The first is getting our partners to help with AML, BSA, the most important initiative on earth. I'll talk about that one on the next slide. Second, information security, making sure our partners are up to snuff on information security. Third, on counterparty credit. And then fourth, making sure that they have good compliance. So there were 3 and now there are actually 4. Making sure that they have good compliance programs in their own right. And so what can you do to help? I'm sure you're sitting there thinking, this is so great, I just want to jump in and do everything I can. And so this is some ideas of how you can help. So for relationship managers and business development, what was formerly known as partner questionnaire, it's a compliance attestation. So these attestations are extremely important. These are one of the ways that we satisfy our AML, BSA compliance obligation. So please work with your partners, get these questionnaires completed. I know that there's been some feedback that they're more burdensome than what Visa and MasterCard might provide. In fact, they line up very well with what our competitors do. We've just gone through the process of simplifying them. So so please work with your partners to get these questionnaires completed. They're just as important as the contract. Second, if you're a control owner, continue to work to update the control library in Archer. Archer, not the easiest system to use. I know, I can't even figure it out. I get a link to Archer and I just kind of shudder. Stick with us. We're looking to upgrade it. We're looking to make the user interface better. But Archer is going to be ultimately one of those things that makes all this stuff easier to do. Right? It's like back in accounting, you got debits and credits and you had all that stuff. Archer it will mature into a system that ultimately does, I think, reduce our burden with all of this. Also, please support the operational risk process. When something goes broken, there's a process and a method for reporting it. It's not a gotcha exercise. It's a way ultimately of kind of getting that data so that we can all become better at what we do. I think you all are doing a very good job on audit and compliance findings in terms of making the timelines that you commit to. So I want to say a big thank you for that. And also, as Diane mentioned, some of these initiatives to devalue stolen data, again, working internally with our partners on things like EMV and 3D Secure. A quick update on AML BSA. So this is big initiative for the whole company. I regularly get asked, where do we stand? When's the consent order going to get lifted? All that good stuff. I think that we are making massive progress on AML BSA. We earlier this spring, mobilized the entire company, made it the #1 initiative. So the progress is gigantic. It's huge, you might even say. Just last week, we met with our regulators. We gave them an update on a number of initiatives. They like what they see, but this fall is pretty critical. We've got a ton of work still to do, but hopefully by next spring, I think we start to see the light, start to get some of this behind us. And in terms of the consent order being lifted, hopefully probably 2018. We've got to get this in place. Regulators have to see it working for us. Then they'll lift the consent order. And so I'm hoping 2018 to get the consent order lifted. In terms of where all of you are helping with all of this, really it's the collection of the partner information. We have to have certain information on all of our customers, also on all of our partners, so we can try to get an idea of who's high risk. And so there's a huge, information collection exercise around Know Your Customer. If you're supporting that, please do so with vigor, because we've got a lot of work to do there. Training, I think we're doing well on training. Please, take those training courses. And I know sometimes it doesn't get recorded in the system that you've taken the training. What you got to do is you got to finish it all the way out until you see that window that says, go ahead and close the window. And then you actually have to close the window, and then that's kind of what records it in the training system. So you just got to kind of make sure that you do it all the way. Some of you probably also have to actually take 2 trainings, maybe one for the bank and one for payment services. I'm sorry about that. We're going to merge them together next year, but some of you get assigned 2 trainings. We got to continue to work on Reg GG, which is the internet gambling regulation, to make sure that merchants are properly identifying who they are. And then just, if you see something, say something, that good old adage in terms of the partners. So I think that, I'm excited about what we can do with risk in terms of making it a competitive advantage. I think we're getting a lot of great support out of all of you. I really appreciate it. I especially appreciate the efforts of Rob Tort and Mike Stormone, who are doing great work. They also helped with some of these slides here today. So we don't have to take more risk to get more return. We can get better at managing risk, and we can continue to kick our competitors' butts. And final thought for you, as Yoda would say, do or do not, there is no try. So thank you again for your support and for your ongoing support as well. So thanks a lot. All right. Sorry, I didn't introduce you.
No,
I was
that's
supposed to
fine.
introduce the next speaker.
Good.
How you doing?
Oh, hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
All right.
You did a great job. Yeah. All right, before we got into the Drive Awards, we wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about Bravo. Bravo is the company recognition site on DLife, and it gives you the ability to submit recognition on a more regular basis. So we want to just take 5 minutes and invite Kathy Edwards up to give kind of a quick overview of the Bravo site. So, Kathy, welcome. Welcome to Payment Services.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Really appreciate you inviting me today. I will just take a couple minutes to give you an overview. Last year at this time, we launched the Bravo site, and I'm really happy to say that we have just last week sent 100,000 Bravo recognitions. So it's fantastic. And 85% of employees, Discover employees, are active on Bravo. In payment services, I checked, and you've used Bravo 6,000 times, and I'd like to give a special shout out to the top recognizer, Madge Hamilton. She has posted more than 300 recognitions, and Nathalie Knox, who has received over 40 recognitions, which is really amazing. So, but I was asked to join you today just to make sure that you know how easy it is to access Bravo, how to give and receive points, and then also how to redeem for a reward. So as you can see on the slide that I'm going to show you, it is simpler than ever. There's a link on the DLife homepage that you just simply click on. It takes you right to the Bravo homepage. And also, I'll just note on the bottom of that bottom right, there's a real-time feed. You can just see the very start of it, but as you're posting on Bravo, it feeds into the DLife homepage. So once you're on the DLife homepage, really simple. Right in the center of the page, you just start typing who you want to recognize, and it'll start to auto-populate the colleague that you want to recognize. You can add in several colleagues. It's really just 3 steps to recognize, and then you start to type in the reason for your nomination, and that's really the text that's going to show up in the news feed that I mentioned earlier on DLife, and also the news feed on the Bravo homepage. And from there, you choose the type of recognition. So there are 3 types of recognition that are available. There's a chart that really describes in detail the 3 types, but I'll just briefly describe those. The first is called giving a high five, and that's really 70% of all the recognitions sent use the giving a high five. It does not award points, but it's just a really easy, quick way to say thanks to a colleague for doing a nice job on something. The second kind of award is called Living Our Values. It's obviously when a colleague displays our values in a very great way. This has a point value, and it is between 500 and 1,000 points. And then finally, the third type of recognition is when a colleague it's really used to recognize a significant goal or accomplishment, and that is called our Driving Our Business Award, and that is an award of 10,000 points. So once you decide which of those three types of awards and click post, it shows up immediately on the company-wide newsfeed. And then I will mention that in addition to sending your own recognition, there is an option to like or comment on other recognitions that others have sent. So if you don't have time to write your own recognition, you can check the news feed, or as a manager, you might get notified that you have an employee that got recognized. You can like or comment, and if you have points that you can award, you can also boost, so you can send additional points to an employee without going through the process of writing the nomination. So it's really all there is to sending and recognition. It takes just less than a minute to do, and it really is a way of making somebody's day. I also would say that if you're looking for a way to brighten your day, go and read the news feed on Bravo. It has terrific info that really would brighten your day if you need it by some small chance. So as far as giving and receiving points, when you're the company's giving you points to award, they are showing, you can see in the example on the right with Joanna's picture, the points that you're being given to award. She actually has a point balance of 0 because she's depleted her allotment. She's awarded all of her points. Keep in mind that those points refresh on the first of every month, and those are allotted across a large portion of our employee base. You can see how they're distributed on the slide. The points will replenish every month as long as you use them. If you don't use your points and award them out every 3 months, then you won't get any more until you start using them. And then as far as points balance, those are the points that you receive from colleagues. So in the profile picture underneath Joanna, she has 9,000 points right now, currently accumulated. A couple things to know about that is that you can receive an unlimited amount of points. They don't expire. And you can use them to redeem very, very easily. So I'll talk about that in 1 second. It's actually the fun part. When you redeem for rewards on the site, you can see the arrow pointing to the catalog, which takes you to just thousands and thousands of choices that you can click on. It allows you to choose from thousands of options, if I can say thousands. Merchandise, gift cards, you can even save up for vacation packages, things like that. But some of the most popular items we've seen employees redeem for so far, they've been movie tickets, iTunes gift cards, but we've also had employees redeem for rewards like GoPro, Fitbit, Ray-Bans, things like that. So go and check it out. If you have points to redeem, it's very simple. And then lastly, I think that if you haven't used the tool, would encourage you to use it. It really is simple. If you have any questions on what I've covered today, there's an online support center as well, or feel free to reach out to me. Joanna Colantis on my team manages the program, and you can reach out to her. There's also, you can email Bravo. There's tons of different ways to get a hold of us. And for those of you that are people managers, I would encourage you to reach out to either one of us. We can get team reports to you if you want to see, who maybe could do better on your team, either recognizing or, those that are being recognized. I think it's a great way to call out people on your team that are being regularly recognized. And we can also give you ideas on how to use the tool to better engage your team. So that's all I have for today. And thank you for inviting me. And I'll turn it back over to Chris. Thanks.
Thank you, Kathy. The Drive Award has just recently been integrated into the Bravo site. So if you go to the Bravo page, you'll see on that top menu the Drive Award. You can submit your individual or team awards there. So a lot to do with Bravo. And now to get into the Drive Awards. So start with our nominator winners. We always like to randomly draw 3 names for a $25 payroll credit. And those winners this quarter are Timothy Nunes, James Foster, and Brian Meyer. All right, now to our third quarter winners. All right, within a short time, this winner created an ingenious Excel macro that predicts necessary alerting thresholds tailored to specific client and created an extensive user guide so the team can easily repeat their solution. In her spare time, she also came up with excellent presentation detailing the pros and cons of the new Splunk monitoring product. For her efficiency, flexibility, and exceptional collaboration, please help me recognize Swati Chaudhary. This winner has had an amazing year in 2016, and we're not even finished yet. She successfully led the charge for implementing the first material change to the Pulse EDF, the Pulse Cirrus Gateway sponsorship, and finally, where many have failed, this winner broke the logjam and was able to get the ATM Gateway project moving forward for Cash Depot. Her achievements are eminently worthy of recognition. Congratulations, Katie Golek. All right, our next winner was instrumental in working with Partner Audit for the ICBC Business Review. He volunteered and dedicated his time to better help the team understand the more technical aspects of the review and ensure that the required documentation was submitted on a timely basis. Additionally, he found a translator for the on-site review and assisted in the communication to ensure a full buy-in. For his work on the ICBC Business Review, please help me congratulate Jeff Chang. This winner was instrumental in development of BrandLab, a content management platform for global marketing. Not only did she do all the legwork to develop the tool, but she also reworked our lines to be able to pilot this experience for the PSSC in July. For her aggressive efforts for the launch of the BrandLab tool, please help me congratulate Tanya Hardison. And we have one team award this quarter. In the ever-changing payments landscape, keeping up with the activity of our strategic merchant partners requires turning raw data into relevant insights that can be used both internally and externally to drive new business, service existing relationships, and continue to develop Discover's reputation as a valuable business partner. To accomplish this, SMR will turn to global network analytics time and time again with requests ranging from simple to extremely complex. But regardless of the effort, the output is consistently stellar, giving SMR the ability to interact at a level with our merchants that helps us stand out against our competition. For all of their work around volume alerts, category deep dives, merchant-specific reporting, and more, this Drive Award for collaboration goes to Mei Wu, Stephen Yu, and Jim Kappa from Global Network Analytics. And with that, we turn it over to Matt.
All right, good morning, everybody. All right, fantastic. That was great. Good morning, everybody. There we go. Good. It is always an honor to be able to present our anniversaries, new hires, and transfers. I was with customers yesterday and completely unprompted. This person could not have known I was going to do this today, that I would be here doing this. But a partner, a long-time good partner, remarked to me that it's great not just the tenure that Discover has, but it's tenure of really good people. Just unprompted. One of our partners said that. And so really made me think today we ought to do that. We should recognize our great people. So rather than kind of going through trying to remind you what fashion or music or whatnot was happening in increments of 5 years, I thought what we would do is take everybody that's celebrating 15 or greater years of service here and just introduce you to them a little bit more. So we'll spend time actually celebrating our folks. And we have 14 of those, and 2 even with pictures that were submitted by colleagues. So good things coming up. First, we'll start with our 5-year anniversaries. And so you see we have 12 here. So Elisa, Elvis, how about folks in the room here in Riverwoods? Can you stand so we can recognize you? Steve Ozon, I see, is here. All right. Katie Almaris is here. Very good. Congratulations to everybody here. 5 years of service. Moving on to 10 years, maybe. There we go. 10 years, we have 11 folks here. So again, Adam Taylor, Betty West, Craig Lorenz down in Houston, Gretchen, Jeanette, Joanne, John Fuller. Who's in the room? Anybody? Anybody? Joanne, that was... Joanne did a half-inch rise to get recognized. Always looking for the recognition. Stop by and congratulate Joanne on 10 years. All right, 15 years. My clicker. We have 3. So here we'll do a little. All right. All right, Kathleen Cien Tiempo. Is that right? Cien Tiempo, is that right? Down in Houston. Kathleen is an EMV implementation manager in Pulse Operations. Her primary responsibility is DPAS ATM deployment. She manages the full project life cycles. And 2 things you should know about Kathleen. Her hobbies include reading, traveling, and gardening. And this, it said she's a very supportive scouting parent. I think she's kind of a hardcore scouting parent. It said here that she dangled her son's driver's license in turn for him reaching Eagle Scout. So until he reached Eagle Scout, he was not getting a driver's license. So good for her. Congratulate Kathleen on 15 years of service. Shannon Meehan. Yeah, great. How about Shannon? Is Shannon here today? Shannon? I don't see her. No, all right. Shannon is an EMV project manager in the Chip Center of Excellence and on the business integration team. Her key role is to assist Discover Card with its EMV activities, like ensuring that cards are certified to be issued, cards are tested in production, and to work with Discover Card on new initiatives like Quick Chip. Something you should know about Shannon is that she is a horse and dog lover. Her family owns raised horses. She has 3 German Shepherds, and she even volunteers at German Shepherd Rescue. So, a little something about Shannon. Congratulate Shannon, please. And Susan Rhodes. I know Susan's here. I saw her walk in. There she is, and she'll stand up. Hey, there's Susan. Congratulate Susan, Director in Operations. She's primarily responsible for core infrastructure of DCI, fraud products, communication and training, both internally and externally within ops, and then documentation. And she's also the co-chair of the ERG, the Employee Resource Group Gold, the Generations of Leaders at Discover. And so the thing you should know about Susan is she loves travel and the opera. Susan, is that right? Travel and the opera. And ironically, she was known as the Yoda of DCI, everything post-acquisition. She was the Yoda. I never heard her talk backwards or anything, though, but congratulations, Susan. All right, we have 3 employees recognizing this quarter with 20 years of service. So the first is Brooke Fote. Is Brooke here? Yeah, Brooke. Congratulations. All right, Brooke is a manager in DCI Products. She manages Commercial Sales Incentive Program, Diners Club University, and Global Vision. And something you should know here, Brooke is a volunteer at the Lake Forest Hospital for the past 4 years and was just recognized for over 300 hours of service. Pretty impressive. So congratulations, Brooke. So I was just thinking about that. If our volunteer day was over 1,000 hours, a third of that just by yourself. Congratulations. Eva Alice in Field Solutions is our next 20-year tenure. So Eva is responsible for securing acceptance at non-accepting merchants within the southeastern U.S. within Field Solutions. And across the years, she's been in regional sales, local markets, strategic markets. She signed a number of important VIP accounts and has a very impressive network of business partners down in Miami. And something you should know about Eva is she traces her family roots to Cuba, and she has lived around Northeast Canada and now in the Miami area. So congratulations to Eva. And then Julie Ondecker, also in Field Solutions. She is responsible for engaging efforts to secure acceptance with small merchants in a multi-state territory, new markets that are driven by business needs. So she's one of our new team that's very mobile, gets around to different markets as we need help. And she's a lover of animals who currently has, this is good, miniature goats and donkeys, chickens and sheep, and she also takes in neglected or abused farm animals. So congratulations to Julie. Another 3 employees that are celebrating 25 years. So Greg Harrell, also Field Solutions. We have a run on Field Solution folks here. So on the conversion team, Greg is responsible for signing up non-accepting merchants in the online space. And Greg is an avid sports fan. He played soccer for a number of years, and he's very, very involved in all of our charitable activities here at Discover. So congratulations to Greg. Following our theme, Rebecca Gamble, also Field Solutions. She's part of the Field Solutions support team. She focused on driving MSA in three key areas with site visits, Own a City, and for Discover debit issuers as well. And this is good. The one thing you should know about Rebecca is she's a big fan of Beyonce. She's seen Beyonce in concert 5 times, 2 with Destiny's Child, 3 as a solo act, and Jay-Z as well 4 times. So very impressive. All right, so when you see Rebecca, congratulate her. And then Terry Phipps is our last 25-year tenure. She is a settlement support analyst in operations. She's responsible for balancing our daily acquire FedWires, requesting FedWire payments, Pulse ATM balancing, boarding, and bank verifications. Something you should know about Terry is that she's a huge OSU and Peanuts fan, and she's a planner. She's planning for any scenario that may come her way, so take her with you out into the wilderness, I guess. So let's congratulate Terry. And then amazingly, we have 5 employees that are celebrating 30 years this quarter, 30 years. So the first is Donna Gibson. Donna is a senior manager for acquire support in our operations group out in New Albany, and she leads a team of account executives that provide the day-to-day support for many of our largest domestic acquirers. If you know Donna, you know she's a golfer and she loves her family, her 3 children, and it's hard to believe 15 grandchildren. That is hard to believe. But it's even more hard to believe is this picture. So this was, yes, exactly. Somebody in there has also given away 300 nominations or 300 Bravo recognitions as well. And I don't know when that was, but I believe those are Bartles and James bottles on the and poofy sleeves. So congratulations to Cindy on 30 years of service. Next is Mark Danny, who's also out in New Albany. He is a transaction monitoring manager. That's the team that interrogates our transactions for the activity of our partners and their partners. And Mark is what did it say here? He has an encyclopedic understanding of our system. So he's great with working with Operations BT and others to rationalize the information that we see, make it digestible and actionable. And one thing you should know about Mark is that he speaks like very few people speak. They say he speaks in SQL code. So he has several great little things. So if you ever talk to him, if he ever tells you something's in the oven, that means he's working on it. It's in the oven. So something's working. If you ever ask him to go to lunch and he has time for a splash and go, that means that he does not have time to leave the building, but he can run down to the cafe for 30 minutes or so. And if you ever hear him, let's roll, that means that we're going to the Taco Bell across the street. So, and here again, we had a nice submitted picture of Mark. As you can see, his not much besides the hair has changed for Mark in the last 30 years. But truly one of the great guys and makes our business what it is. So congratulations to Mark. All right, Jan McGrew out in New Albany is a manager in the infrastructure support release coordination. This was a long description of what she does. So Jan is responsible for building the program and project function for infrastructure portfolio. This includes all the business analysis, the project management, and release coordination. If anyone knows Jan, she's very family-oriented. Her beautiful daughter just got recently married. And even though both of her daughters played sports for 20 years and survived without injury, her dog just tore its ACL. So there we go. Injury-free for 20 years and now on. So congratulations to Jan before we move on. Okay, Michelle Hill in operations in New Albany. She's a settlement support analyst, and she's responsible for working the levies that we receive from various agencies, assisting with test card fulfillment, keying adjustments, and bank changes. She started her career in card member services, and we were lucky enough to have her move over to payments. And something you should know about Michelle is that she likes bedazzled pink things. dachshunds, and going to the beach, particularly Myrtle Beach. So congratulations to Michelle on 30 years of service. And then finally, this is another one that is hard to believe. Patty Martin, 30 years of service. Patty, you should be here. Are you here? She is there. Very hard to believe. Over there in the pink. She tried to hide, but go find her afterward. She is a pricing policy manager. She is the primary liaison with operations, work on pricing system and data requirements for new transaction types, working on CPP for pricing as well. And has a vast number of prior roles in compliance, credit issuance, analytics, merchant support. So Patty knows a lot and has done a lot here in 30 years. And what you should know about Patty, she's a competitive quilter and actually has a quilting machine that probably costs more than your car. So if you need anything quilted, Patty's your gal. So congratulations, Patty, on 30 years. So I hope that was good to get to know a little bit of some of our most tenured and most celebrated folks. New hires. We also have 19 new hires. I'm not going to read the names, but if you're in the room, can you stand up? Let us congratulate you here. I see there's actually a couple on there. Welcome, Sam. Welcome. Oh, way over there. And I see we have a couple rehires in here as well. So such a good place to work. People are coming back for a second time, which is great to see as well. And down in Pulse, we also have several new hires. And Amrita, is Amrita here? I see in Riverwoods. There you go, waving in the back. Standing room only back there. Welcome. Nice to have you. We also have 3, I believe, transfers in. So Nikita, Andrew, Jodine, are you all in the room? Anybody? There we go. Welcome. All right. All right, so that's our anniversaries, new hires, transfers. And with that, I will introduce my good friend, Steve Trussell, to tell us about the exciting world of facilities.
All right, so good morning, everyone. I would say if I have never felt inadequate enough to realize there was 100,000 Bravo awards, not a single one. Joby, Matt, appreciate the support. So time flies. It's been 6 months since, and actually to go back to the fact checker, Brian talked about being in his new role 4 to 5 months. We did the same swap at the same time. It's been 6 months. So in the theme of that, time has gone quickly. And I just wanted to thank the group. I really enjoyed my time working with this group. From a finance perspective, I think the business and finance has a great partnership. That it's been a pleasure to really work with Diane, the leadership team, and many of you in that role. But I think I was set up to be put on the agenda. Diane asked me a couple months ago to whether I'd be willing to speak to facilities. Sounds like there's been a lot of questions coming up on what's going on with our campus. You guys have seen some changes go on with some of the pilots that we've put in place, but also the recent build-out of the 4th floor. So I've got a few slides to go through, but as Diane alluded to, happy to answer questions and likely to dodge many of them along the way at the same time. So with that, if I can maneuver the slides. So fun slide. As I've transitioned into the role, my team has had to teach me a lot about facilities. Terminology that I wasn't familiar with, projects that we work on, or candidly just issues that we deal with. And I would say also as I look back on the first 6 months that if it is true that the keys to real estate are location, 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 it is also true, equally true, that the keys to facilities are all around bathrooms, bathrooms, bathrooms. Whether it is a dirty bathroom, a broken toilet, a backup in a bathroom, bathroom habits, bathroom preferences, or an executive bathroom that needs some tissue, we are there for you. And I would also say there are usually some really good stories that come along with that. So feel free to reach out to me or my team, and we're always willing to share some of that. That being said, we have embarked on a multi-year, multi-phase initiative to renovate the Riverwoods campus. Hopefully you've seen that in the 1 South, 2 South pilot, and recently with the 4th floor of Building 2. As we embark on that, it's really around 3 key areas. We're trying, one, to better align our workspace with how we're working. Our groups are much more collaborative, flexible, interactive than when this building was built, and we need to adapt to it. Secondly, not a surprise to anybody in the room, we are space constrained. Our headcount across headcount and contractors have grown close to 25% over the last 3 to 4 years. So that is putting pressure on not only office space, but those that well know in Building 2, we're a little parking constrained as well too. So we are working on that. And then third, this campus is aging. In fact, Building 1 was built in 1988, so close to the 30-year mark, and we're needing to invest in that. The most important aspect of, as we embark on this renovation or transformation project, is, again, to better align what our workspace and how we work today goes together. Whether it's DMS that's rolling out across the business units, whether that's Agile, which is impacting not only technology, but as well as the business functions, we are needing to be much more collaborative and flexible than we ever have been. So our teams are not sitting in their office space. They're meeting with groups in huddle rooms, conference rooms. They're having quick meetings in the grab and go or out at the atrium. So we are trying to respond to an open environment that facilitates that change in how we're working. So again, more to come on that. The other aspect is we are trying to embed much more technology into our common areas. So whether it's small huddle rooms or conference rooms, we want you guys to be able to go into a quick meeting, pull up a spreadsheet, pull up a presentation, and make sure that those meetings are as effective as possible. The second aspect, again, which I think we're all dealing with on a daily basis, is we're out of space. We've seen our headcounts and contractors grow significantly. And as we renovate floors, we are getting significantly more capacity in this new footprint. But a key piece, and I would say maybe the more controversial aspect of the change, is we are moving toward much more of a shared space model. I think if you guys look at your own office space, what we're finding is roughly a third of our workforce is not in the office in any given day, whether we're traveling on PTO, working at the 606. So we can get much better leverage out of moving toward a shared space model. And again, BT has already gone toward that. It is the wave in the industry, and we'll get much better leverage out of our fixed assets. And the third piece, hopefully a little bit of excitement on this particular aspect, is as we're investing in the building, we are looking for ways of driving better employee experience. So huge success with Grab and Go 1 in Building 1. We are taking that success over to Building 2 sometime in 2017. I don't know if Pete's in the room. Pete won't have to walk over to Building 1 to get whatever cup of coffee he has on a daily basis. But the same flexible food options, seating options, we're going to be blowing out that footprint and, again, replicating that experience. Secondly, we're going to be moving a lot more conference rooms into Outlook, so you can reserve those. In particular, this conversion that we did over in Building 1, we've created a lot more conference rooms, but at the same time, we're not actually seeing them being used like we want them to be. So we're moving them into Outlook, giving everyone access to reserve them. Bathrooms. So we're excited. As we renovate a floor, we will be making the necessary upgrades for the facilities. Many of those are way, way outdated. And then lastly, parking. Passionate topic for many people that are in Building 2. As we built out the 4th floor for technology, we're finding many more people parking in that lot right outside Building 2. It's causing some parking constraints. We've recently added about 70 spaces in the west lot, and in 2017 we'll be adding another 200 spaces to hopefully alleviate the parking pressures. I would highlight, though, there is plenty of parking on the campus. It just may not be where you want to park. And I would say the other thing that I would encourage and almost demand is for those that are still parking in the fire lanes, please don't. It is not an issue of convenience, it's an issue of safety if we were to ever have an issue. So again, just encouragement on that. So where are we going? A slide that lays out over the next 3 to 4 years, we are going to be converting about 60% of our footprints on the Riverwoods campus. Always a little bit of controversy on who gets to go first and why it takes so long. But this lays out our current plan. We're going to be focusing in on business units that have gone through DMS and are really needing more of this open environment and converted space. So 4th floor, Building 1 is going to be Wave 1 for acquisitions of DMS, as well as the deposits team in 4 Center. From there, we're going to be focusing in on DMS Wave 2, portfolio and rewards, and then later in 2018, Brian Hughes' group for CRM. This is less of an issue of maybe new processes, but the CRM group has gone through significant headcounts. And then from there, we will be shifting over to Building 2 for the technology and payments group, as you guys are. The most common questions I get when I've showed this slide is, how come it takes so long? Can't we do this faster? Obviously, we're trying to optimize disruption in the building, but also cost. But the bigger issue is really as we convert office space, we need space for groups to move off of their floor into while we renovate the space. Given that we're space constrained today, we're limited on swing space. So we're continuing to revisit that. We're trying to accelerate it as fast as possible. There is a lot of excitement over the new space, and we're trying to do it, again, as quickly as possible. So what are some of the hot buttons that our group hears from this team? Continuing to work on finding more space for Agile, whether it's common payments platform, whether it's digital, wallets, et cetera, that continues to be a hot button. How do we find more space for technology and the business to co-locate? Given our demands with remote workforce, what are some solutions that we can get better efficiency? Large conference rooms, gold and platinum, best rooms ever, but unfortunately there's only 2 of them as we think through the larger footprints. And then lastly, parking shortages. So my encouragement is, again, facilities tends to be the hot topic. But at the end of the day, we are there to service the needs of the business. In fact, our mission is all around creating a more productive environment while at the same time minimizing risk. So my encouragement is, as you guys have questions, reach out to me, my leadership team. We can't solve everything, but at the same time, I think we're a fairly reasonable group and are definitely willing to service the needs. So with that, this parlays into questions, and I think, Diane, this parlays into the overall Q&A. So more than happy to take questions.
Oh, all right. Well, I got him here. So, first maybe just a couple of comments. So believe it or not, I actually ran facilities once. I think I've run many things here over the last 18 years, and I would tell you it is a tough job. But I've never encountered anyone quite as thoughtful as Steve Trussell, so he will do the right thing and find that, sort of compromise spot. So I think he's going to be responsive. He's here, he's open-minded, but I think everything in life is all about compromise. So he'll do the right thing, and I'm sure we'll see great improvements. It's funny, I was in the elevator the other day, and I was going up to the 4th floor for the first time, and there's a really great big conference room up there, which is pretty fabulous. And I had 2 guys in the elevator with me, and I said, hey, I haven't been up here yet. I hear it's pretty nice. Are you guys working up here? And they grunted at me and said, yes. I said, well, how do you like it? And they just sort of grunted at me again. So I think, sometimes you just have to kind of get used to it. And it's really kind of funny because I think it's more the change than it is the absolute. You're used to one thing, you go into a different kind of configuration. And it's really funny because now my son, some of the new guys coming in, interns and kids right out of school, I don't think they're expecting anything other than that. I think if you're used to, and you've been around, look at our tenure here, people have, sort of had whatever they've had for a really long time. And actually, I think it's kind of fascinating that we built this building in '88. Believe it or not, David Nelms and I were the building committee when we built the Employee Services Pavilion, the data center, and Riverwoods 2. So some things David chose and some things I chose. But it was a pretty amazing experience, and I just can't believe that building is now almost, it's more than half as old as Riverwoods 1. So time absolutely marches on. So I don't know if anyone has any questions for Steve. He was gracious enough to invite your commentary to him personally, which I think is pretty brave and bold there, Steve. But if no one has anything, let's thank Steve, and let's all go out there and try to support the greater good, yeah? Very thoughtful presentation. I thought Brian Hughes did a great job. If you want to think about, I love that compromise between what he talked about with The Economist and what Warren Buffett said. And that, to me, that is true. There's this theoretical thing, and then there's Warren kind of in real life action. It is about managing risk. And I think drawing that analogy to what we do every day with credit risk management and extending that across the enterprise will make us and give us that competitive advantage. So that was great. Okay, so I've got 5 big questions. Are you ready? Okay. All right, so the first question is all about the sales conference and the fact that if you weren't at the sales conference, you couldn't get access to the Discover Global Network Branding Strategy. And so what we've done is we've put a recap article of the Discover. I have to get used to this acronym. It's DGN. Discover Global Network Brand Announcement. It's on the Payment Services DLife page. And if you need any additional information, just drop Cheryl Yasger a note. There's a presentation I'm sure she'd share with you if you want to have that in your staff meeting. But it's very well done. I don't think it's anything, that's going to be new news. We've got kind of an umbrella strategy, and it's just going to help us all line up and sort of go out in the external and internal world in a consistent way. So I think Cheryl and her team did a great job on that. So feel free to reach out and look on DLife if you need more information on that. The second question is, why are we being forced to sell our Discover stock that's already in our 401k? I understand removing it as a future option, but am disappointed that I have to sell what I already own. Can you explain? So I don't think this was our great idea. I think there's a regulation, actually, that we need to be in compliance with. And, if you just think about diversification strategy in general, I'm not sure the regulators thought about it this way, but this is how I think about it. So if you're trying to diversify your risk, a big part of your risk is getting your paycheck from the company that you work for. And so if you work for the company and you invest all of your money in that company's stock, it doesn't feel very diversified to me. So I think the idea here is you're already, being employed by the company, and certainly with your private money that you can do in your own investment account. You can buy Discover stock. We have an employee stock purchase plan that you can get a discount. I don't exactly, what is the discount on that? I don't recall. Does anybody know? 5%? That's what I was going to guess, 5%. So you already get a 5% benefit by buying it in that plan. But yes, they are closing the fund, and part of the regulation is forcing you to take that money out and put it in another investment option. So it wasn't really in the company's big idea. It's part of being compliant with this regulation. But I think if you step back and think about it thoughtfully, the intent is making sure that you, as an individual, manage your own personal risk and don't have all of your eggs in one basket. So maybe try to think about it that way. I know the stock has performed exceptionally well, so that's great news. So maybe your other option is to go into the employee stock purchase plan, which I think is a great option as well. So sorry about that, but not our choice. This is a little technical one, but the account updater spec is out of date and needs to be updated. When will this be complete? So changes to the account updater spec are slated for 17/1. I think most of you know. It's amazing that now I know this. We do our releases, in the spring and in the fall, and so good news, that spec will be updated in 17/1. So I hope that answers your question. Number 4, recently I worked remotely at New Albany. I sort of feel like a late night talk show host up here right now. I don't know. Think about that when you submit your questions to me for the 4th quarter. Anyways, recently I worked remotely in New Albany, and I was surprised that security for New Albany employees require and retain the employee's driver's license until the temporary badge is returned. The retaining of the license is a concern from a potential fraud perspective. Can you share why this is needed? And this comes from Cindy Birch in New Albany. So New Albany's practice was to retain this ID as described in the question, but they have changed it. So I don't know if they changed it based on this question or not, but let's go with that for today and say these questions can be change agents in the environment. Temporary badges will be issued as needed on a daily basis. No ID will be retained. However, the temporary badge will be deactivated each day. So there you are, making change, and that's all good news. All right, last but not least, a very big, broad question. From a payment services aspect, for the most part, we seem to be a follower rather than a leader amongst the other card brands. Are there instances that you believe we can be a leader rather than a follower in the industry? So, I would say you have to kind of look at Discover, maybe kind of in 2 different sort of compartments. I would say on the card issuing side, we are a leader on so many things. You look at the features and freeze it and credit score and all those kinds of things. I think there's a lot of stuff where in that space, maybe, and I will say that it's a little easier because the card issuing business controls so much of their own destiny. It's a little easier for them to be, sort of a leader in innovation. I think when you think about the network, in terms of putting new features out, certainly one of the things that we heard from our acquire partners last week is, merchants and merchant processors don't want us to be doing things that are very different from the rest of the industry. So they like chargeback rules to be the same. They want our EMV specs to be kind of the same and all that. So I think from a physical implementation, just in terms of how we deliver transactions, there is a ton of pressure on networks to try to be consistent because merchants do not want to implement 4 different versions of everything that they do. They just don't see the value there. So we have to kind of thread the needle a bit on how we go to market. And, look, there's lots of press releases out there. You have to sometimes look at them and say, a lot of it's vaporware. It's all about, sort of being in the press. And I think we've tested a little bit of that to see if we get any value out of being that loud in the marketplace. And I'm not sure it sort of suits our business model. But that being said, I do think there are places where our strategy really stands out. If you think about our net-to-net strategy, that's something that nobody else in the industry does. Amy Parsons sent me, a link this morning, and I think she sent it to you, Joe, as well. So many small national banks for countries across Asia and Africa don't want their local debit volume to go to Visa and MasterCard. And so they're looking for partners to try to help them do that. We make that capability for our friends at ELO in Brazil and Turkey and Korea and all the other places where we have net-to-net partners. To me, I think it's a brilliant strategy that we provide cross-border and give those national networks greater utility so that they can actually get a little traction in their own market so that they can bring their vision of having their own domestic network with, some cross-border acceptance. So to me, that's a place where we really stand out. I think Ariba Pay is something that no one else has created a B2B network. So in the places where we feel like there is a space that needs to be filled, those are the places that we try to go. We don't want to be in the game of, Visa announces something, then MasterCard does. MasterCard announces something, then Visa does. I think we chart our own path, and there are loads of places where we have the opportunity to really bring a different business strategy to life. And a key part of that is really leveraging the network for the benefit of the card side. And a lot of these, custom things that we're doing with merchants, Visa and MasterCard can't do that because they have a requirement to give everybody on their network pretty much the same functionality. So there are loads of places where I think that we are smartly taking a different path in the industry, and the places where we need to be on the same path to keep our acceptance at par, we sort of make those compromises. So I feel good about the balance. But yes, and look, let's be honest, we're 5% of U.S. sales and globally something less than 1%. So we are small but mighty, and we're out there, and, it's amazing. I went to Italy for my vacation. I had one experience that was an acceptance failure. Every hotel, every restaurant, everything I bought, with the exception of one small retailer. I mean, if you had told me that when we bought diners, how many years ago? 8 years ago? We didn't have that. So our work, we just keep going, and we, sort of march to the beat of our own drum. And my gosh, you can go to Italy and have an amazing experience. There are loads of other places, but to me, only having one little EMV issue, and they took MAG, they just didn't take our DPAS spec. To me, that was, there was some gratification in all of that. So, gratification for all of you. Another fantastic quarter. Thank you. I love to see all those checks and green marks, and I don't even mind a couple of red, because I think those are places where we're investing in the future. And sometimes those new strategies take a little while to come to fruition. So thank you for all of your hard work. Enjoy the fall, and we'll see you back here probably around the end of the year for our final recap. So thank you.